You're welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Business Incorporated. We're coming to you live from Channel's television headquarters in Lagos. Now, Barclays' decision to sell down its stake in a Johannesburg-listed venture is a consequence of past mistakes at European banks rather than a reflection of Africa's future prospects. And that's according to South Africa's Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan. Recent news that Barclays PLC would sell a 62% stake in Barclays Africa, reducing it to a minority holding, was seen by many as another blow for a continent hit hard by China's slowdown and low commodity prices. But Gordhan rejected that idea, saying, and I quote, "Barclays is not about Africa, it's about Europe and European banks and the way they mismanaged their affairs and found themselves in difficulties in terms of capital requirements that the Financial Stability Board established by the G20 and British authorities required of them for overseas operations," end of quote. He also maintains that emerging markets are often victims of policymakers, policymaking by developed nations, and it is wrong to blame them entirely for recent problems such as the collapse in economic growth and the huge capital outflows they face. And South African President Jacob Zuma says bilateral talks with his Nigerian counterparts Muhammadu Buhari on issues including economic stability and a multi-million-dollar fine imposed by Nigeria and South Africa Telecoms MTN have been very fruitful. Zuma, who arrived in the capital Abuja late on Monday, is on a two-day state visit to the country.
Nigeria and South Africa are vying for economic and political dominance in Africa. Nigeria overtook South Africa to become the continent's largest economy in 2014, following a rebasing calculation that almost doubled its gross domestic product to more than $500 billion.
We have had very fruitful discussions today as we reviewed various bilateral and multilateral issues. We have noted with satisfaction the ever-growing cooperation in many sectors, including trade and investment, defense and security, immigration matters, energy, mineral resources, to mention but a few.
Nigeria, Africa's biggest oil producer, is going through its worst economic crisis in years, brought on by the drop in global crude prices, and its central bank has restricted access to dollars in a bid to defend its currency. A number of South African companies have said they will exit Nigeria, citing this economic backdrop.
We discuss a lot of issues related to very specific issues in all areas of economy, and that is our intention, to grow the economy much faster.
But ties between the two countries seemed to have been strained in the last few years. Most recently, the $3.9 billion fine imposed by Nigeria on South Africa Telecoms MTN for failing to disconnect unregistered SIM cards has been a source of tension.
The concern of the federal government was basically on the security, not the fine imposed on MTN. You know how the unregistered GSM are being used by terrorists. And between 2009 and today, at least 10,000 Nigerians were killed by Boko Haram. At least 10,000. That was why NCC asked, the MTN and Glo and the rest of them to register GSMs. Unfortunately, MTN was very, very slow and contributed to the casualty.
Relations between the two countries have also been tensed following claims of South African xenophobia, including claims by Nigerians that Pretoria subjects them to unfairly harsh visa restrictions. President Zuma's visit to Nigeria ends today.
And joining me to discuss more of this visit by the South African president to Nigeria is an economic analyst and also the managing director of Integrated Brainwork Consulting Limited is Oladotu Mabinuri. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program. Now, what do you make of the visit of the South African president to Nigeria? Well,
this is not his first time of coming to Nigeria. In 1999, even when he was a vice president, he was there when binational cooperation started. That's between Nigeria and South Africa. He came and he actually advised us to diversify our economy. It was just so unfortunate that 2016, that's 17 years after 1999, he's still against advising us to diversify our economy. And I think because we have a very serious government this time around, government should would take to his advice by diversifying the economy. Because take for instance, about 95% of our exports to South Africa is oil. And everything is oil. We have very little thing to send aside oil. But look at their own companies, the number of companies we have in Nigeria, South African companies in Nigeria, they are well over 100. So what do we have to exchange in return without diversifying our economy? So I think his visit, if well taken into consideration, the economy surely will grow. And I think that's what we need for Nigeria economy to grow.
Well, I think that for Nigeria, we've been doing some level of diversification, even if it may not be on a very large scale compared to what the South Africans have done. But talking about the economy now, in what ways do you think that the visit of President Zuma will improve trade? You've talked about oil exports from Nigeria to South Africa. So how do you think this visit would actually improve trade relations between both countries?
I think South Africa really needs to relax some of the policies. For instance, in Nigeria, we have a very enabling environment for foreign direct investment to come in, but in South Africa, it's not so. So that's why not only Nigerian companies are not willing to go to South Africa, other companies too, because most of the economy, the economy, for instance, is concentrated, is centralized on their own citizens. They buy the product made by their own citizens and stuff, so they should try and open up their economies and relax their foreign direct investment policy so that investors from Nigeria, for instance, in Nigeria, we only have Dangote, Wando, and very few ones investing in South Africa, and it shouldn't be. So I think with this relationship, Nigeria should be able to harmonize the relationship we have with his visit. We're able to harmonize the relationship we have with South Africa by encouraging them to relax their policies. Their policies are not investment friendly, so to speak. So I think our president should be able to...
So we're having some level of imbalance
between the two. I imagine in 1999 when he was there, he said the agreement we have, which is binational agreement we have, is imbalance, is unequal, because Nigeria, for instance, is a consuming nation, while they export finished products. So even the ones we are exporting, they are raw materials. No nation exports raw materials. We have to produce those, turn them to raw materials, to finished goods and export. But instead, we export them in raw materials, and we are killing our economy. We are creating unemployment home here. So I believe at this juncture, we should look inward, develop our sectors, different sectors. We call it the big push. Different sectors should develop at the same time, and before you know it, the Nigerian economy will move forward.
What does that say about our policies, our economic policies? Because if you have a country which takes so much from us in terms of having to come in and take over many sectors of the economy, they're very vibrant in Nigeria, and we do not have the same access to that same country. What do you think the government should do in that respect?
In that is, I think, is more about us, not even about the companies coming into.
Like putting our own house in order, you mean?
Yes, we need to put our own house in. For instance, look at the adult literacy in Nigeria is below 70%, whereas we have over 90% in South Africa. So that's to tell you that we have a lot to do inward. Just as one, the popular saying, they always say it's not what you leave for the generations to come that matters, but what we leave in them. So it's what we have in us as Nigerians in terms of human development. For instance, if these companies are coming in and they are meeting technocrats, they don't need to come here and make us cheap laborers. For instance, many companies are coming to Nigeria because they feel, oh, that cheap laborers in Nigeria, graduates can then as low as 65,000 or what have you, and nobody's complaining. Do you understand? It shouldn't be. So if we have human capital well developed, when these companies are coming, they are coming in to develop our economy. Because no economy there's no state of autarky anywhere. Automatically there will be inflow of capital. So if they come in and we have our own house in order, our policies in there, and again, the government should create an enabling environment. The last time it was said that we import everything in Nigeria, even toothpick. But has government created environment for even toothpick industry to strive? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you have enough, for instance, transportation, everything must be on road. You shouldn't be, go to South Africa, they have the fastest train network in Africa. Shouldn't you have such in Nigeria? If I'm producing, for instance, if I produce my good in Lagos, carrying to Kaduna, if I'm using very little amount of money to transport it, automatically that evolves in profit, and even more money for government in terms of tax. But here in Nigeria, everything has to go by road, takes days before it gets there. Cost of transportation is increased. Cost of production is killing. We entrepreneurs, we know what I'm talking about. Cost of even power is nothing to write home about. So if all these things are well improved, automatically, even companies coming in, they are coming to compete with us, not coming to dominate us. And that is why, for instance, we have 125 South African corporations in Nigeria. And I don't think that is good in terms of the bilateral relationship. It's one-sided. And it's not very okay. Okay,
just before I let you go, I want to ask you about the binational commission that was set up by both countries. How much improvement has it actually brought to the table between
the two countries?
Economic relations and other relations?
Well, the bilateral commission, I think, came into being in 1999. And it's been headed by the vice president of the two countries. Before that time, we realized that trade in Nigeria, we have just four companies, South African companies in Nigeria. In 1999, when the commission was inaugurated, we had the growth rate increase. From 1999 to 2005, for instance, we have over 50 companies, South African companies in Nigeria, doing business worth 16.5 billion, if not more. Then between 2005 to 2008, we also recorded a great increase in the number. Today, we have well over 120 South African companies in Nigeria, and it's because of this BNC.
But we are not having the same.
We are not having the same thing, because
so we need to address that.
We need to address that. And two things that are causing that. One is the South African trade policy, and at the same time our own human development. We need to develop ourselves so that we have something to offer not just South Africa, but the rest of the world.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for your insight. Oladotu Mabinori, an economic analyst and the managing director, Integrated Framework Consulting Limited. We do appreciate the time with us on the program.
Thank you very much.
And Moody's has placed 3 Nigerian banks on review for downgrade. The review of the long-term ratings of Access Bank, Sterling Bank and Bank of Industry follows recent similar actions placed on the country's credit rating on review for downgrade by Moody's. The rating agency added that the review was driven both by the increasing risk posed by the bank's exposure to the oil sector and the negative implications of low oil prices on the economy. Moody's also identified a potential weakening of the government's capacity and willingness to provide support to the banks in times of stress, in addition to the shortage in dollar liquidity for the banks, which it said raises the risk of failing to meet the foreign currency liabilities. And in the meantime, ratings firm Moody's will visit South Africa next week to decide whether to downgrade the credit status of Africa's most industrialized economy to just one notch above sub-investment grade. South Africa's Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan said Moody's informed him of the decision during a stop in London on an overseas roadshow to meet with investors and convince them the economy could be turned around. The Treasury said in a statement that the review visit will primarily serve to either affirm the current ratings or downgrade them. Late on Tuesday, Moody's said it was placing South Africa's Baa2 ratings on review for downgrade, citing the economy's weak growth prospects and worsening fiscal position. South Africa's rand and bonds retreated early today as sentiment was rocked by Moody's decision to place the country's credit rating on review for a downgrade. We're going on a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the intraday analysis at the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange. We'll be right back.